Welcome to part 1 of this tutorial. I'm Johnny, and if you just got here, you might want to watch the introduction video first to see exactly what we're creating in this series. In this first part, we'll extract and prepare the M4A4 model, getting it ready to import into Substance 3D Painter. The import, setup and texturing will be covered in part 2. Feel free to follow along with the M4A4 model or pick any other weapon you like. The process is the same for all weapons. And before we jump into the tools, we need to cover some of the core building blocks of any CS2 skin. Why? Because understanding these fundamentals controls how your skin gets rendered by the Source 2 engine and how it looks in-game. Every skin has two major components, the 3D model and the texture maps. Texture maps are image layers that tell the game engine how to render materials like metal, plastic, wood or any surface you want on your skin. Let me walk you through them step by step. First, we have the albedo map. They are pure base colors with absolutely no lighting or shine, just clean color information data. Moving to the normal map, it uses RGB channels to fake surface details without adding polygons to your model. This technique improves game performance without compromising the quality and details of your skin. For CS2, we use OpenGL format, meaning bright green equals raised areas. This is the opposite of DirectX format, where bright green equals recessed areas, used for instance in Unreal Engine. If you mix this up, raised areas become sunken and sunken areas become raised. Pro tip: if you ever seen models with glowing parts in shadows, that's done with inverted normals, where dents catch light like upward bumps. Then comes the metallic map, which is strictly binary, meaning in gunsmith style, pure red equals 100% metal and pure black equals non-metal materials like painted surfaces, plastic or wood, with no middle values. It's either 1 or 0. Next up is the roughness map. It controls how shiny or matte your surface appears using a sliding grayscale. Black for minor shiny surfaces, white for matte finishes, working identically for both metallic and non-metallic materials. So low roughness makes metal look like chrome and plastic appear glossy. Finally, the Yale map, or ambient occlusion map, a grayscale texture that pre-bakes shadows into crevices and tight spaces for extra depth. There are additional texture maps for styles like solid color, spray paint, patina and more, all covered in the workshop weapon finishes guide. But today we're working with Gunsmith. It combines patina and custom paint jobs, making it my favorite and the most versatile style for advanced skins. And here's the magic. When these maps are combined, they turn flat geometry into physically convincing weapons that react realistically to light. This system is called PBR, Physically Based Rendering, the industry standard for modern games like CS2. Now that you know what we need, let's extract the model and default texture maps from CS2 game files using Source to Viewer. Let's jump in and go to the SV2 official website. All resources and links are listed in the description below. On the site, click the download Source to Viewer button and save the file anywhere you like. Since Source to Viewer is an executable file, you may get a security warning during download. Just accept the warning and you're ready to go. When you launch Source to Viewer, the interface looks simple, but it's a very powerful tool. It can access CS2 game files, letting us extract weapon models and textures, converting them to GLB and PNG file formats ready to import in Blender. But first, you need to tell it where your game is installed. Go to File, Open, then navigate to where your game is installed. It will be Steam Library, Steam Apps, Common, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, Game, CSGO. Scroll all the way down to find the file pack01_dir.vpk. Open this container to reveal all game assets. Now let's locate the files to extract. First navigate to Weapons, Models, and you'll see all weapon models. You can choose any model, but for this tutorial we'll use the M4A4. Inside its directory you'll find two model files. You can ignore the _mag file. It contains the magazine model, but it's already included in the main model file. So right-click it, select Decompile and Export, and don't forget to save as type GLB file format. Save it to your project folder. Wait for the file to export and you can close this window. For the textures, add to the materials folder. We only need 2 default maps. Ignore the rest since we'll create custom materials later. Let's first extract the default AO map or ambient occlusion map. Double-click the default _AO.FBX file. Select Software Decode in the options, revealing the black and white version. Click Save to Disk and store it in your Maps folder. You can now close this tab. Let's follow the same process for the default normal map. Double-click it, but this time you don't have to change anything. Just click Save to Disk and store it in the same Maps folder. You can now close the source to viewer. Next, let's import the extracted model into Blender and prep it for texturing. You can install Blender either through Steam or directly from the official website. We'll be using version 4.5 for this tutorial. As of the time of recording this video, this is the latest version released. We now have all assets ready, the default texture maps in the Maps folder and our GLB model in the Model folder. Let's open Blender. If you see any default objects in the viewport, press A to select everything and then press Delete. If you're a beginner, the controls in Blender viewport are very easy. Middle mouse to rotate, mouse wheel and control middle mouse to zoom, and shift middle mouse to pan. Now that our file is clean, we are ready to import our assets. Go to File, then Import and select GLTF 2.0. Navigate to your project folder, go into the Model folder and select weapon_ref_M4A4.glb. You can keep all the default settings in the right panel. If something looks different, you can pause the video and check my settings. Click Import GLTF. After a moment, you should see 2 icospheres appear, but don't worry, the weapon model is here. We just need to retrieve it from the imported objects. First, go to your scene collection in the outliner and expand this object. Inside, you'll find the model we need. There are 2 versions. The legacy model, which is the old version from CSGO, and the HD model, which is the one we need for CS2. Delete both the legacy file and the icosphere. Now we're left with the model we need, and you can see it properly in the viewport. Okay, let's clean our model by removing everything unnecessary. Looking at the outliner, you can see we have many vertex groups and an armature modifier. First, let's remove the vertex groups. Go to Object Data Properties, represented by the green triangle icon. And in the vertex group section, click the minus button until you see this area empty. Now, let's remove the armature modifier. Go to the modifiers tab shown by the wrench icon and click the X to remove it. It's good practice to rename your mesh, the material and the object in the outliner. I name it starting with 000 because we'll later separate the model into different parts and I want the main model to appear alphabetically first. As you can see, our model is laying on its side. We need to rotate it to the correct position. But first, we need to adjust how Blender handles rotations. Currently is using quaternion rotation, a complex mathematical system that can be confusing for manual adjustments. We'll switch to Euler rotation. Euler uses familiar XYZ angles that are much easier to understand and edit. Let's switch to material view and then click to select our model. As you can see, the default material came with our model. We'll take care of that later. First, press R, then X, type -90 and press Enter. This will rotate our model -90 degrees on the X-axis. Now press 1 in your numpad to go to the front view, and press 3 for the side view. See how the model is facing sideways instead of forward? We need to fix this by rotating it in the Z-axis. With the model still selected, press R, then Z, then type -90 and hit Enter. Now, if you press 1 again, you can see it's properly facing front. and pressing 3 shows the correct side view. Next, we need to align the model to the world origin. For this, I like to add a camera to help me. First, create a new collection, name it M4A4 and place our model inside it. Now create another collection and name it Studio. In the viewport, press Shift-A and select Camera to add one. Click the camera icon to jump into the camera view. With the camera selected, try dragging the X location in the transform panel. See how the model is centered? Let's fix that. I'll press Tab to go into edit mode. Here you can work with vertex points, edges or faces. We want vertices, so select that mode. Since I know this model well, you can now pick these two specific vertices. Press Shift-S to open the snap menu and choose Cursor to selected. This places our cursor right between those 2 points. Now go up to the Object menu, set Origin to 3D Cursor. The model pivot point is now perfectly placed between those vertices. But look at the transform panel. The location values are messy. Let's clean that up by setting all the location axes to 0. This snaps our model right to the center of the scene. While we're here, let's reset the cursor to Shift-S, Cursor to World Origin. Now jump back to camera view. Much better. The model is centered perfectly. You might still want to nudge the camera X position to frame it just right. This is a good moment to save our progress. Go to File, Save or Save As. Then create a Blender folder in your project and name your file wherever you like. And click Save. Back in our project, select our model. Press Ctrl-A to open the Apply menu and choose All Transformations. This resets those -90 rotations to 0, making this upright position the new default for our model. Now it's time to take care of that default material that came with the original model. First, place your mouse in the bottom left corner until you see a plus icon. Click, hold and drag and create a new area. Let's change this new area to show the shader editor. Now we can see all the nodes that make up the default material. We've got the base color, metallic roughness, normal map and the occlusion map. But since we're creating a custom screen material, we don't need most of this. Click and drag to select the occlusion nodes and press Delete. Let's do the same for the image nodes and connected ones too. Now I'm going to intentionally delete the Principled BSDF shader too, just so I can show you how to get it back if you accidentally delete yours later. Press Shift-A and add a new node. Click the search box and type PR. That's enough to see our shader node in the list. Select it and connect its output to the material's output surface input. This Principled BSDF has all the properties we need to build our material, but let's bring in those texture maps we exported from source to viewer to help us out. Press Shift-A again and search for image texture. Place this node in our editor. Let's add another image texture the same way. We'll use the first image for our ambient occlusion map and the second one for our normal map. For the normal map, we need an extra helper node. Press Shift-A again and search for normal map. Place this node between the image texture and our shader. On the first image node, let's load our AO map. Click Open, navigate to your project's Maps folder and select the ambient occlusion texture file. On the second node, let's select our normal map texture file. Important note here, for the normal map we need to set it to non-color data, or it won't work properly. Now connect the image color output to the color input in the normal map node, and connect the normal output to the normal input in our shader. Let me quickly show you the effect. I'll push the metallic slider all the way up and reduce the roughness. You can now see how the normal map details pop on the model. For the AO map, here's my quick lazy method. Add a mix color node, switch the blend type to multiply, connect it to our shader space color input, plug our AO image into the A input and push the factor all the way up to 1. I'll change the B color to a darker gray. That's the color mixing with our AO map. This gives us some quick shadows. We can now close this editor area. Here's something important. Just because we deleted the icosphere, the legacy model, those material nodes, the vertex groups and the armature modifier, that doesn't mean they're completely gone from our file. To really clean house, go to File, Cleanup, and select Purge Unused Data. In this confirmation window, you can see everything we're about to remove. We just cleared out 40 unnecessary data blocks. This makes our file lighter and gets rid of all the hidden junk. In this next step, we'll break down the weapon model into distinct parts. We need this split because when we get to Substance 3D Painter later, having separate pieces let us apply materials to specific sections, like coloring just the barrel or grip independently. You can name your parts however you want, it doesn't matter as long as they're separated. Since CS2 uses real firearms, you can search for part names in manufacturer manuals or references. I prefer using actual part names. Here is exactly what we'll be separating: the barrel, receiver, magazine, and all other parts shown in this diagram. If you'd rather skip this separation work, I've got the pre-split M4A4 model in the description below. Download it and meet me in part 2. Okay, to separate our model, we need to hop over to the UV editing workspace. You'll see the default AO map on the left. Let's remove this image so we can focus on our UV layout. Use standard Blender navigation to zoom in. Click this small button with 2 arrows to enable UV sync selection. This is super useful. Selections in the UV view now automatically highlight in the model view, and vice versa. Press Tab to switch to object mode. If you're using Blender 4.5 or newer, you'll see the full UV map here. If not, consider upgrading, as this is a new feature that just came out. Let me explain what UV mapping is and why we need it. A UV map is a flat representation where each part defines how textures wrap around our 3D model. Normally, you'd need to cut seams and unwrap it, but we're lucky. CS2 models come pre-unwrapped. UV unwrapping is a complex side of 3D modeling, and completely unnecessary here, since Valve's models are ready to use. But if you're curious about the process for your own projects, there are great dedicated tutorials out there. This is a critical reminder. This model is our reference canvas. We're only uploading texture maps to the workshop, not the 3D model itself. That's why keeping Valve's original UVs untouched is non-negotiable. We're strictly using this UV map to split parts. Those texture maps you'll create later depend entirely on this exact foundation. Okay, let's move on. When separating parts, I prefer material view because our normal map makes connected components easier to identify. Press Tab to enter edit mode and switch to face select. With your cursor over any part, press L to automatically select any connected faces. Since we activated UV sync selection, you can select parts either directly on the model or through the UV map. Remember, you can switch between edit mode and object mode using this drop-down menu. But since you'll be toggling a lot during this process, use Tab instead for instant switching. Alright, let's drag this panel over to give ourselves more room to work. For separating our first part, I'll show you a handy trick that works in most cases. Press 3 in the numpad to switch to side view. Select your object, enter edit mode and enable X-ray view. X-ray mode lets you select not just the front-facing parts, but everything behind too. Go ahead and select the muzzle. You'll see it highlight in the UV map as well. Now carefully check for any missing faces on this part. Once we exit X-ray mode, shift and then click to grab these two missing faces. Before we proceed, double check the UV map for connected faces that might have been overlooked. Notice this inner muzzle section, it's part of the same UV island, but isn't selected yet. Simply press L over these faces to select the linked geometry. Now that we're certain we have all muzzle faces selected, press your cursor over the 3D viewport, press P, choose Selection, and a new object appears in our outliner. Let's name this muzzle. After I quickly verify everything looks correct, we'll hide this part. You might notice the barrel's interior faces appear transparent. Let's activate face orientation. Red indicates the interior or normal map orientation, where our material shows the outer side of the faces. Moving to the barrel, over it and press L in the 3D viewport until the whole barrel is selected. Then jump into the UV map to confirm all faces are selected, using Shift and click to add any stranglers. Confident everything is selected? Press P with your cursor in the 3D viewport, choose Selection and name it Barrel. You'll repeat this exact same process for all remaining parts. The golden rule: always ensure connected faces are selected. Watch how I select connected faces in the UV map. Even hidden ones belong to this part if they share the same UV island. After our final checks, press P, Selection, and name this Sight_Ring_Front. Same approach for the pins. Using a name convention like Sight_Ring_Front_Pins. This keeps related parts together alphabetically. Now let's demonstrate what happens when you miss a face. First, I'll hide everything, then I'll separate this face. See how the shading texture breaks? To fix this, select both objects in the object mode and press Ctrl J to join them. The shading error persists because the separation disconnected the vertices. Enable X-ray mode, select all vertices in that problem face, right-click and choose Merge Vertices by Distance. Repeat the same process for the two other vertices. While this fixes the shading, it won't work for parts with separated UV islands or even separated vertices in the original UV map. Ideally, undo the separation and properly select all faces first. Since separating parts is quite involved, I'll speed this section up 8 times. The fully separated model will be available for download in the description. If you're wondering why we took the model from the game before separating parts when Valve does supply all models, the reason is very simple. It is known that Valve does update models from time to time and may make minor changes to the UV maps. So to be sure, I prefer to get the latest model from the game. clearly got tired. I should have separated all inner RAS system parts together using X-ray side view. Ended up missing faces and had to reassemble everything. Always double check your sections before separating. A good tip is to keep a reference image with part names nearby during this process. It saves tons of time versus naming each part on the fly. Remember, separation isn't mandatory. Substance Painter allows UV-based workflows, but isolated parts let you hide unrelated geometry, like working on the magazine inside the lower receiver.
They call me a god. 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 Let's go. I'm about to go off like a weapon. Fuel to the top, got a filled up engine. In my thoughts, obsession. I will not stop, no, I'm never second guessing. I got a God complex. Haters love to hate, but I never feel pressed. Got a lot on my plate, but I never get stressed. I'll take all the pressure like I'm acing this test. Oh! Tear it up like I'm Jason. I see the world like it's ready for the taking. I see this place like a game I'm playing. Straight to the bank to collect my payments. No negotiations, it's my way, I was born impatient. And like a damn Freemason, I'll run this nation. They call me a god. 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 I don't know how to stop. I just go till I drop. Whether it's working or shots, give it all that I got. You can watch me work in my element. Anyone in the way is irrelevant. You wanna cross me, cool, not intelligent. Cause I don't forget shit like an elephant. Go ahead and tempt me, put it on the line and you'll come up empty. If I got time, I'm deadly. Never caught off guard, no, I'm always ready. I got a hand real steady. Look me in the eye and you'll see no hezzy. About to get real messy. I'll put you in a grave 6 feet like Kenny. They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
And we're finally done. Let's switch our matte cap to random colors per part for visual clarity.
Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go.
Last step, delete our original, now empty object and hide the camera.
Hustle hard, hustle every single day.
Time to export. Go to File, Export, FBX, name it something like M4A4 _ split _ model.fbx, enable visible objects in the right panel and hit Export. If you've made it this far thinking weapon skin creation is quick, we're truly just scratching the surface. This meticulous preparation ensures professional results in Part 2. This wraps Part 1. In Part 2, we'll import this split model into Substance Painter and configure our texture workflow. But first, grab your high poly bakes from the description, essential for Part 2, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss the next tutorial. Download the separated model if you want to follow along directly. And if you enjoy this, a thumbs up definitely helps more artists discover this tutorial. Feeling generous? Support this channel with a Ko-Fi. And if you got questions, I'm in the comments daily. Happy texturing and see you in Part 2.
You got a mind, but even that could change. You could flip the gray matter like some batter in your brain. That's why I say, fake it till you make it A. And if you play that game, then you just might make a change. Rearrange all the bad to okay. Take the worst I say and turn them to a game. Take the best I say and put them on display. On repeat in your brain till you're feeling no more pain. Never slow yourself down, you could